What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Barbells and Bangers. What is going on? First of all, you already know I'm sipping on that Well-Being, sipping on their Well-Raiser sparkling water. They also make alcohol-free beer. So if you're looking for something to sip on this summer and you are alcohol-free, or maybe you just want to take it easy on the booze for a little while, check out Well-Being Brewing. They're local right here in St. Louis. And if you support them, you support me. So thank you. Use code BREEECKERT for 10% off your purchase of $10 or more. Okay, so we got a lot to talk about. Again, man, the fights, they never stop. That's what amazes me about MMA. Like, it's funny because when I first started this podcast, I was like, yeah, I'll talk about MMA a little bit, but I want to focus on like the fitness part of it. And now I talk more about MMA probably than anything else because it's just, there's always so much stuff going on. So, and not even just with MMA, but like other combat sports like boxing last night. So yeah, man, it is just getting crazy out there. But, and most of you guys probably know if you've been watching me for a while, I don't really cover boxing. I like boxing. I like to actually do boxing as an activity. And I am interested in the sport itself. I just have never really gotten into it. It's hard enough to keep up with MMA sometimes that I'm like, I don't want to add another thing that I have to pay attention to because like I have so many things going on in my life and so many interests and hobbies. It's like, how do you have enough hours in the day to follow all this stuff? I don't know. But I do want to start following boxing a little bit more because I'm genuinely interested and curious about it. And I think that following boxing will help me just understand boxing more and understand like the technique and things like that. So, and I actually just did a video about why boxing is the best cardio. So if you want to check that out, I just put that on my YouTube. But yeah, so I watched the fights last night. I watched UFC, and then once UFC was done, I turned on boxing. And I sound like such a casual in boxing saying that, but I am a casual boxing fan. I'm a diehard MMA fan, but I'm a casual boxing fan. So yeah, now I know what's going on when I'm watching the fight. I just don't know all the rankings and all the different weight classes, like that kind of thing. I don't really know that well. And some of you guys were trying to bait me into doing predictions for Garcia versus Tank. And I'm like, that's not my lane. I'm not doing predictions on fights that I don't know what I'm talking about. Because, like, even sometimes when I do know what I'm talking about, I still get it wrong. So I'm like, no, I'm good on that, okay? So I did not do predictions for that. I was rooting for Garcia because obviously he's young and he's new. And, it's nice to see a new face in boxing, a new star. So, of course, you want to root for Garcia. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, I don't know. I mean, that's a tough fight for him. So, and I think everybody kind of knew that. I think everybody knew that Ryan was the obvious underdog in that fight. But sometimes it's fun to root for the underdog. But it didn't play out exactly how I thought it would. Now, one thing that kind of caught my attention about it, and keep in mind, I'm a casual boxing fan. I don't really watch that much boxing. I've watched like old boxing fights, but like the new stuff, I watch the big fights, but I don't really watch it on a regular basis. So it seemed like Tank, and I've seen him do this before because I've watched 2 or 3 of Tank's other fights. And the last fight that I watched, I don't remember who he was fighting, but he did the same thing where he holds a lot. Like, he holds on to the opponent a lot. And I don't know. I mean, I guess it's dirty boxing, but it seemed like, I don't know. And I don't think it changed the outcome of the fight. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm just wondering genuinely, like, what are the rules on that? Because at one point he was like lunging at Garcia. And I don't think I understand the rules of boxing when it comes to stuff like that very well, as far as like what you're allowed to do as far as like holding and dirty boxing. And I mean, at one point I thought he was just going to take him down. It's like, what is going on? So I was just kind of surprised, honestly, because I've watched boxing before. I mean, this isn't the first time I've watched boxing. I've watched tons of fights. I just don't watch it regularly. But I just was genuinely curious, like, is that allowed? What are the rules? Because it just seemed a little excessive compared to what I've seen from, like, other boxers. Now, again, I don't think it really had an impact on the fight. I think Garcia would have gotten knocked out or something either way. But, yeah, I thought that was really interesting. And I don't know. I think a lot of people don't understand how devastating it is to get hit with a body shot too at the same time. Because I've seen a lot of people talking trash about Garcia and like he has no heart and all that stuff. And I guess part of that is like his culture, like he's Mexican, I guess. And that is like part of the, now he's not from Mexico. I'm pretty sure he's from LA. So it's not like he's from Mexico, but I think like his background, he's Mexican. So I think a lot of people like have that mentality that like you don't quit or something like that. But it's like, I don't know if he necessarily quit or if, you know, his body just like shut down. Because that's kind of what happens when you get hit in the liver. And not all body shots are going to have the same effect. But if you get hit in the liver, that's a different story. And I've seen people go down from shots like that. And it does not look fun. I've been hit with body shots before. It's not fun. It's not fun. You literally feel like you are paralyzed for a second. You're like, oh my God. So I think, here's the thing. If you're a professional boxer or you're a fighter and you want to talk trash on Garcia for quitting or whatever you want to say, go for it. But some of these people on the internet have no business talking trash on a professional boxer, especially a professional boxer on that level. It's like, dude, you've never even hit a punching bag before and you're talking about, like, some of these people just drive me nuts. Like, when they talk trash about fighters, it's like, dude, you don't even have the guts to do what they're doing. So how are you going to talk trash about, oh, they gave up, they have no heart? How are you going to talk trash about that when you would literally fold if somebody punched you in the body like that? You would fold. You would fold if a little girl punched you in the stomach like that. So don't even pretend like, I don't know. Some of these keyboard warriors just crack me up. But yeah, so I thought it was a good fight. I thought it was, you know, I don't know. I don't really watch a lot of boxing, so I don't want to get too much into the weeds with it because, like, my opinion on it really doesn't matter. I don't follow the sport religiously like a lot of people do, so I'm not gonna act like I'm an expert. But I thought it was, you know, a good fight. I thought that it was pretty obvious that Tank was the better fighter. I think it was pretty obvious after, like, I would say, like, halfway through round 2 is when I started to think, okay, I don't think Ryan's winning this fight. Like, I was like, I don't know. Like, I think Tank is gonna really do something to him. So, I don't know. But the thing is that Ryan did have the guts to get in there. It's the biggest fight of his life. It's a huge fight for the sport. And just in general, like, so many people were watching this fight. Like, they had to have made tons of money on it. So it's not like, yeah, he lost, but, like, he got that bag. You know what I mean? So, like, yeah, he lost the fight, but I think he's okay. I think he's going to be just fine. So, yeah. And I don't know. The whole thing of boxing is so much different than MMA. So it was really interesting to watch it. I hadn't watched boxing in a while, but everybody told me I need to watch this fight, so I did. And I'm glad I did, because it's good to watch, you know, different things sometimes. And I think it also, somebody brought this up, I think it was on Facebook, somebody said this. They were like, I wonder why more MMA fighters don't use body shots after seeing what we saw with Garcia. And I think that's a good question. I never really thought about that. There are certain fighters that use body shots. They invest in the body, and it always pays off. That's the thing. When you throw body shots in MMA, a lot of times I feel like it might not pay off right away. Like you're probably not going to drop somebody in MMA with a body shot. I mean, Brock Lesnar got dropped with a body shot, but I think he had like some stomach thing going on or something like that. So maybe that had something to do with it. But investing in the body and doing that damage will do a few things. So it will, first of all, hurt your opponent. You're going to score points because you're hitting them. But then also it's going to keep them guessing. So when you're throwing a punch, they're not going to know, oh, are you going to throw it to the head? You're going to throw it to the body. So they might not have their guard up all the time. And I think that maybe if MMA fighters did implement more body shots, then I don't know. It'd be interesting. I would like to see it. So yeah, it was just an interesting point that somebody brought up that I hadn't really thought about. And something that, but one thing that fighters have done in MMA is implemented the leg kicks. And leg kicks have been devastating for a lot of people. So, I mean, there's some fighters that half of their career they've pretty much built just from their leg kicks because they're so devastating. Like Justin Gaethje, I mean, there's some fighters out there that their leg kicks are so dangerous that it's like if you get hit with more than a few of them, you're done. Like you are done. It basically immobilizes you. And that's kind of what working the body does too. It makes you more, it probably makes you more tired. It makes you, it knocks the wind out of you. So you have to keep that in mind. So I think investing in the body will help you kind of slow your opponent down. But again, I'm not going to get on here and try to act like I'm a fight analyst and all this stuff. Like I'm a fight fan. I'm not an MMA analyst. I like to watch MMA and I like to talk about it because it's interesting to me, but I'm not going to pretend I'm freaking Luke Thomas. Like, like what he does with breaking down the fights and all that stuff is incredible. And I could never do it justice. So until I get to that level of my knowledge of MMA, I'm not even going to try to do that. But I will give my opinion and just kind of talk about these different aspects of the fight game. And I don't know, it's an interesting topic. But that being said, I do want to talk about MMA because even though everybody was watching boxing last night, there were some pretty good MMA fights going on. And if you missed the main event, oh my goodness. It almost kind of makes me mad that main event was on the same night as one of the biggest boxing fights, probably the biggest boxing fight of the year, because Pavlovich, okay. So Sergey Pavlovich, gosh, I can't talk today. I had way too much caffeine before this. So he's a heavyweight, obviously, for those of you who don't follow MMA. And sometimes I forget that some of my listeners don't follow MMA. So sometimes if I sound like I'm talking really basic, it's because I'm just trying to explain these things to people who maybe don't follow the sport like I do. Because I have a wide variety of people that listen to this or watch it on YouTube. I have people that are they like fitness, they're more into like maybe bodybuilding and stuff like that. Then I have people that are MMA fans and they're also into fitness but in a different way. And so what I try to do is kind of talk about those two things, but in a way that's you're able to understand no matter who you are. But Pavlovich, I will be honest, I totally underestimated him. And not that I underestimated him like I didn't think he could beat Curtis Blades, because Curtis Blades showed us he's beatable. Like, it's not like he's some, undefeated. Like, Curtis Blades got knocked out by Derek Lewis. And Derek Lewis does that to people. But just based on that alone, that's what made me think that Pavlovich would probably be able to beat him. But at the same time, I was like, okay, but if Curtis Blades gets him to the ground, it's going to be tough to get that knockout. So that was my thought process. I wasn't doubting Pavlovich by any means, but you have to respect Curtis Blades because he's arguably the best wrestler in the heavyweight division right now. And to not respect that about him is just dumb. So I thought it was kind of 50-50 going into it. I was like, well, Blades got knocked out by Derek Lewis, so can he survive Pavlovich? I don't know. I mean, he's shown us that maybe he doesn't have the best chin, but at the same time, this is heavyweight we're talking about. I mean, these boys are swinging. Like, these guys are throwing bombs, they're throwing heat. So for Curtis Blades to be able to survive that would have been insane. But Pavlovich, I was a little bit concerned about, just because of the wrestling. And not that he would have gotten knocked out or that he would have gotten finished. I thought it would be like Curtis Blades is going to do what Curtis Blades does when he needs to win the fight and just lay on him and, stall. Because that's kind of what he did in the Volkov fight. But one thing that I kind of forgot about with the Volkov fight, when he just basically ragdolled Volkov, is that fight was in a small cage. And I don't know what size cage they were in last night. I wasn't really paying attention. But that Volkov fight, Volkov versus Blades, that was at the Apex. So that was when they had that small cage. I think it was during COVID. So that changes things quite a bit. If you're a grappler, especially a heavyweight grappler, and you're going in there into a smaller cage, that to me is a big advantage, in my opinion. And we've seen that a few times. We've seen that with other fighters where the grappler just had the advantage because it's a smaller cage. Now, you can't use that as an excuse if you're on the other side of it. You can't be like, oh, he only won because it's a smaller cage. It's like, well, he still had to get you down. So, But Pavlovich, man, that was an impressive win. I mean, there was, I don't know, it only took him 3 minutes to knock Blades out, but those 3 minutes, like, I kind of had a feeling, like, as soon as the fight started, I'm like, yeah, I don't see Blades winning this fight. I'm like, ooh, yeah, he's got some heat in those punches. So, and we all knew that about Pavlovich. We knew he had power, but you always wonder, and it depends on who they're matched up with stylistically. So, but now he's shown us that he can knock out pretty much anybody. And it makes you wonder what would it look like him versus John Jones? What would Pavlovich do to John Jones? Or what would Jones do to Pavlovich? And after watching Cyril Gane versus John Jones, don't really know enough about John's striking to really say where it's at. I don't know what his striking looks like at heavyweight. I really don't. I don't think we got enough of it to really make a decision on that. So I don't know. I think I would lean toward Pavlovich a little bit on that fight. Only because it's like, I haven't really seen, here's the thing with John Jones. We haven't seen enough of him at heavyweight. We've only seen, how long was that fight? Like a minute or two with Gane? So we've seen basically a minute of him at heavyweight. Now, when we see him versus Stipe, that I think will be very interesting because we'll get to see, hopefully, more. Now, here's the thing I worry about with Stipe. He's not young. So how is his chin? He got knocked out by Ngannou. And now, here's the thing. Ngannou's power compared to John Jones' power. Ngannou obviously has more power at heavyweight. I think everybody can agree on that. That's his whole thing. That's what his career was built off of, his power. Because he can knock people out. And I don't think Jones has anywhere near that power when it comes to striking. I think that his strengths with a lot of those guys at heavyweight are with his grappling and just his fight IQ in general. And, he's good in the clinch. He's good on the ground. He's good everywhere. But he's not a heavyweight. So I don't know what that looks like with Pavlovich. I don't know. I really don't, because it's a different weight class, and we just saw Pavlovich go toe to toe with the best wrestler in the division. So what do you do with that? I don't know. Now, is Jones a better wrestler than Curtis Blades? Probably. I would say so. But at heavyweight, I don't know. I don't know. But here's the thing, and here's why it doesn't matter. Pavlovich and Jon Jones will probably never fight. I highly doubt it. Highly doubt it. I'm not even 100% convinced that Jones is going to fight Stipe. I hope it happens. I hope Jones, doesn't just dip. I mean, that would be really, really disappointing if he did. Like, you go and you beat the perfect stylistic matchup for you in the division, win the belt, and then leave? No. Absolutely not, Jon Jones. If you do I'll be so mad if he does that. But I don't know. Here's what I think will happen. I think that maybe Jon Jones and Stipe fight. Now, do either of those guys even want to fight anymore? I don't even think so. I don't think Stipe wants to fight. I don't think Jones wants to fight. I don't know. I'm not convinced that fight is going to happen. I'm just not. I don't know. I really would be surprised if that fight goes through. But we'll see. We'll see. I could be wrong. We'll see. But I think the whole conversation of Jones versus Pavlovich, or really Jones versus anybody in the division besides Francis Ngannou, who's gone, it's just kind of dumb. I mean, I just talked about it for like 5 minutes, but now that I'm like talking about it, I'm like, Brie, this fight's never going to happen. This is stupid. But I just wonder what Jon Jones can do to like the top 5 at heavyweight. That's what I wonder. Because with Stipe, it's like, well, Stipe, he's got a lot of skills. He has probably the most skills of anyone in the division. And he has power, he has wrestling, he has everything. But I just don't know, with him being at his age, if he's still the same Stipe. I don't know. And by the same Stipe, I mean a Stipe that can beat Jon Jones. I think Stipe could still beat most of the people in the division. But against a guy like Ngannou and against a guy like Jon Jones, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But what I do know is that Pavlovich and Jones are never going to fight. Because if Jon Jones fights Stipe, I'm pretty sure that's going to be his last fight. Guys, what more do you want from Jon Jones? What else does he need to do? I don't blame him if he retires after Stipe. I don't blame him if he retires now. I'll be mad about it because it's like, really, dude? But I can't be mad at him for it because it's like, what the heck else do you need to do? You know? He did everything that he needs to do already. He won the belt in both divisions. He had the best career at light heavyweight we've ever seen. He had the best career of probably anybody in MMA we've ever seen. Despite all the controversy and all that stuff, which I have my feelings about that. But besides that, if you take away all that stuff, Jon Jones has had the most impressive career we've ever seen in MMA. But I don't think that he's going to keep doing this for that much longer. And I think if you think he's going to keep going, then it's like, why? Why? If he fights Stipe, who a lot of people think, and I think I could get on board with Stipe being the greatest heavyweight of all time. So if you think that if he beats Stipe, why would he keep doing this? Why? So yeah, he's not going to fight Pavlovich. He's just not. I think that Jones is going to fight Stipe, maybe, if that fight happens. And then if that fight happens, and even if Jones wins, which he most likely probably will, I would say that Pavlovich and somebody like maybe Gane will fight for like the vacant title or something like that. I think that's probably what would happen. Or maybe he fights somebody. I'm trying to think of somebody else. Gosh, this division is kind of a mess. I was just talking about last week how featherweight is a mess. No, heavyweight is a mess. Thanks, Francis. And I love Francis Ngannou. I'm not even going to talk trash on Francis because, man, he's one of my favorite fighters. I love his story, and just as a fighter, holy cow, impressive. Very impressive. And he didn't start very young. That's what a lot of people forget about Francis. He didn't start MMA until he was in his 20s, I believe. And MMA wasn't even a recognized sport in France until like 3 years ago. So, yeah, you got to give it to Francis. But here's the thing. Francis, I think, made a mistake leaving the UFC. Now, at first, I was like, yeah, Francis, yeah, you tell him. But now I'm like, oh no, Francis, what have you done? Because it's like, oh man, now you just don't really have a lot of options, my guy. What did you do? So, I don't know. That's tough for him. But here's the thing. Dana's like, we will never take back Francis again. Quit lying, Dana. You would take back Francis. Especially if John Jones retires. If John Jones retires, Dana will have a big fat stack of cash waiting for Francis to come back to the UFC. And I can't even keep track of what Francis is going to do now. Because every time I look, it's a different thing. It's like, oh, Francis is going to Bellator. Francis is going to PFL. Francis is going to bare knuckle boxing. Francis is going to fight Anthony Joshua. I'm like, what? Oh, hold on. He's not doing all these things, okay? He's probably not doing any of them. Let's be honest. It's all speculation at this point. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know what Francis is doing. I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know what the future holds. Hopefully, he can figure something out and find a way that he makes enough money that he feels like he deserves, which he does deserve. He gets in a cage and fights people for a living. These guys should get paid for that. And if you don't think that, then I don't know. That's my stance on it. Like, if you're not for fighter pay, like being increased and realizing how bad it is, and it's not just the UFC. That's the thing. I'm not even just talking about the UFC. I'm talking about all MMA organizations. These guys are so underpaid. It seriously makes me want to cry sometimes. It's like, wow. For all of that effort and for all of that punishment and abuse to your body, that's what you get at the end of the day? It's like, geez. You know, and that's why a lot of these MMA fighters have to do, they have to market themselves. They have to do other things besides just fighting. And I think it's important that they do that. I think it's important they find other avenues and ways to make money. Like doing social media, doing the YouTube thing, podcast, all that stuff I think is a good thing for these fighters to do. So that way they still have a way of making money when they're done fighting or to supplement their fighting. So I think it's important to do that. But it's an important conversation to talk about fighter pay and the fact that it should be increased. I think everybody can agree on that. So yeah, I don't know. That's just my opinion. All of this is just my opinion, guys. Remember that. Because some of you, it's like, guys, I am just talking. This is a podcast. So everything on here is my opinion. These are not facts. Well, some of them are facts. Let's just say that. But not all of them. Sometimes I'm wrong. Whatever. Get over it. But yeah, so that's all I'm really gonna say about the heavyweight division and those fights and all that. But I do want to talk about a couple fights that are coming up because Dana just announced some absolute bangers and I'm excited. So Burns versus Bilal. What a fight. What a fight. I have no idea who wins that fight. I would lean toward Burns, but I don't know. Bilal is good. Like, we forget how good Bilal actually is because I feel like a lot of people just don't like him. I don't know why. I think he's awesome. I think Bilal does a lot of things right. in MMA. And just in general, like, he's good at marketing himself, as far as like his podcast goes and all that kind of stuff. He may not be like the biggest trash talker in the world, but I don't know, sometimes that gets annoying, you know? So I like this fight a lot. I think I would probably lean towards Burns winning, but that's just me. You know, you guys know I love Gilbert Burns. I just talked about it on the last episode. And what a quick turnaround for Burns too. So that should be an interesting fight. And then another fight was announced that I'm excited about: Whitaker versus Duplessis. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I pronounce it wrong every time, and I can never remember the proper way to pronounce it. But that fight is really exciting, and I think that will be easy work for Bobby Knuckles. I'm just going to say that right now. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I will never bet against Robert Whitaker unless his opponent's name rhymes with Ladesanya. Okay? Because Bobby Knuckles, he might not be the champion, he might not be the best in the division, but he has been champion before. And not only that, but Bobby Knuckles is the most difficult, challenging, tricky opponent in that division. And here's why. He is good everywhere. Everywhere. He's got cardio for days. He's got kicks. He's got punches. He's got wrestling. He's got jiu-jitsu. He's got it all. He can do it all. And that's what I love about Robert Whitaker. Also, nicest guy in MMA. Besides Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, he's got to be the nicest guy in MMA. I mean, I don't know him personally, so maybe he's not. But I feel like he probably is. Because just based on his press conferences and interviews I've seen with him, I'm like, he is so wholesome. I love it. I love it. And guys, Whitaker will win that fight. You heard it here first. Not really. I'm pretty sure everybody knows that Robert Whitaker is the favorite in that fight. Obviously. Now, Dricus is good. Not denying that. But I'm not sold yet. I'm not sold that he can beat Robert Whitaker. Because here's the thing. There are guys that I think will have a tougher time against Robert Whitaker than they would with Adesanya. That's just... It's because it's a stylistic thing. Like, it's not that Robert Whitaker is better than Adesanya. It's just that he's better in other areas. That Adesanya maybe has some holes in his game a little bit. Like with wrestling and grappling. So, in Robert Whitaker versus Pereira, that really interests me. So if Robert Whitaker beats Dricus, which he probably will, I want to see him versus Pereira. But at the same time, then it's like, does he rematch? No, we don't need to see. Do we need to see a rematch between Adesanya and Whitaker? I don't know. I don't think he beats Adesanya. That's the thing. If I thought that he could beat Adesanya, I would want to see the rematch. But I don't see that happening. So that's why I don't want to see it. Now, if we see Robert Whitaker beat a guy like Pereira, then I could argue, okay, let's run it back. Let's see Adesanya versus Whitaker again. Or contrast to that, if we see Adesanya have trouble with somebody in grappling, or if anybody like exposes an area of his game that makes it look like Whitaker could create a game plan to beat him, then I would be interested in seeing it. But as of right now, I don't really want to see it. It's the same thing with like the Max Holloway. They are like the same fighter, I swear. It's like Max Holloway is better than everybody in the division except the champion. And Robert Whitaker is better than everybody in the division except the champion. And they're stuck. And that's the thing too. Like with Holloway, can he move up to lightweight? That's scary. That's scary. I don't know. There's some killers at lightweight. Like, I don't even know if he could touch the top 15 in lightweight. Lightweight is a tough division. And then you look at, can he go down? No. Look at Max Holloway after the weigh-ins at featherweight. He ain't going down to bantamweight. No way. There is no way. And then if you look at Robert Whittaker, could he go down to welterweight? I think he's fought at welterweight before, actually, now that I think about it. Maybe before the UFC. But I'm pretty sure he's fought at welterweight before. But can he go... Now he's older, though. Can he drop to 170? I don't know. That's the problem. Middleweight's 185, so then you got a 15-pound difference between 170 and 185. So can he cut to 185, or can he cut to 170 and fight at 170? I don't know. I think he would probably do a lot better at 170, but he's already, I mean, he's not fat. Like he doesn't carry a lot of body fat. So I don't know. I don't know if that would be a good move for him. Especially when he's still winning. That's the thing. Because the only guy he can't beat is Adesanya. So maybe he just waits until Adesanya's out of his prime. Waits until Adesanya loses and then tries to get the belt back. I don't know. But he's not moving up to 205. He's too small for 205, in my opinion. So it's tricky. I don't know. That's tough. It's tough when there's such a big gap between the weight classes. And I think that's the problem that a lot of middleweights have, or guys that size. Because it's like, where do you go? You know, do you move up? Do you go down? Do you stay where you're at? I don't know. Like, we saw Darren Till struggle with that. We saw Kelvin Gastelum struggle with that. With competing at 185 when maybe there's not really a better option for them to go. Maybe Kelvin Gastelum, and I talked about this on the last one, or not on the last one, the one before. Kelvin Gastelum could probably cut to 170 and compete at welterweight. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how he does. We'll see how the weight cut. I don't know. I wonder if Darren Till would have stayed at welterweight, how that would have worked out. Makes me think. But I don't know. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because Darren Till is done. But I think Darren Till didn't get cut from the UFC. I think he asked to be released. I don't remember the whole story. But you gotta love Darren Till, one of the best trolls of MMA ever. Like, I remember Darren Till when he was trolling Mike Perry, and Mike Perry's like the easiest guy he's an easy target for that because he gets so mad and so angry. But I remember he was trolling Mike Perry, and he made a website called MikePerryIsABum.com, and that was like my favorite thing ever at the time. I think it was during COVID. It was so funny. But yeah, gotta love Darren Till. But anyways, enough about fighting. Let's talk about something more positive. I'm just kidding. Let's talk about fitness a little bit. There's so much in fitness right now, and I was talking about this. I think I posted in my story on Instagram. Just how overcomplicated fitness has gotten. I'm like, Jesus, like it has gotten so ridiculous. And I don't know. I guess there's a couple different ways to look at it. So there's a lot of YouTube channels and podcasts about fitness, and there's a lot of, Instagram, Reels, all that kind of stuff, content, TikTok. There's a lot of content. And I talked about fitness influencers in my last video. And I think what I said in my last video is that they're great for fitness because more people are getting into fitness, and that is a good thing. So I love it. I think fitness influencers are great. I think they should keep doing what they're doing. But here's a problem. And I didn't think about this in my last video, but I thought about it today, and I thought about it this week, is the fact that we're giving people advanced level information. which is good because we need to know the science and we need to know, we can't just go around saying whatever we want about fitness. We can't just go say like, spread a bunch of bro science is really what it is. So you don't want to do that. But at the same time, sometimes it just gets to be a little much. Like if you're a beginner and you're watching some of this stuff, you're probably like, what do I do? And I think that it gives people analysis paralysis. Like it gets to the point where you get so confused on what to do, like how much protein, how much cardio, what is the optimal amount of sets and reps, and should I do strength, should I do hypertrophy, what should I do? I don't know. Does anybody know? There's all these experts out there, but the problem is that half of them have a different opinion. So one guy says one thing, and you're like, okay, cool, so I should eat this much protein. But then you see another guy that's like, well, actually, and you're like, okay, so what do I do? I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. And that's the problem. That's the danger with all this advanced science information. And it's okay if your audience is of that group of people, like bodybuilders or maybe other people that are in the science-based community. That's cool. But if you're giving this information to people who are maybe on a beginner level, then you have to be careful with how you present it, because sometimes it just can be really confusing. And that's why sometimes I try to make sure that like I don't get too into the weeds with things, because I know that a lot of people that watch my stuff, and I didn't really realize this at first, but a lot of people that watch my stuff are just getting started, and I think it's important to keep things simple, especially if you're just getting started. But even after that, it's like, unless you're an athlete, unless you're competing, unless you're a bodybuilder, unless, you're doing this for sport, for a living, you really don't need all that advanced level stuff. You really don't. It just depends on what your goals are. If you want to look like Chris Bumstead, then yeah, you might want to probably look at all that stuff. But if you just want to, look good in a swimsuit and you just want to feel good, you just want to do it for your health, then I don't think you really need to get too into the weeds with all the advanced science, all that kind of stuff. I think that keeping it simple will probably do you more good in the long run, because you're not going to just be constantly trying to figure out the right thing to do. And here's the thing about it. People don't look at that stuff because they want to find the right thing to do. A lot of times they want to find what everybody else perceives as the right thing to do, so that way people think they know what they're doing. But what I think you should do is just try things yourself, build a routine that fits your lifestyle, that fits your needs, and just do that. Just do that and make sure it's sustainable. Make sure that, don't try to train like a bodybuilder from day one if you've never even lifted weights before. I would keep it simple. Don't do anything too crazy, because then it turns into like, if you're having to like research everything and do all this stuff before you go to the gym, then it's like, it kind of turns it into more of a chore than anything. So I think some people, might want to get away from that a little bit and just avoiding that analysis paralysis of, oh my gosh, there's so much information. Everybody's saying different things. I don't know what's true. It's like, just listen to your body. Just listen to your body. It's okay if somebody on Instagram disagrees with what you're doing or what you're saying. It's fine. Like, you're not going to, I don't know. It's some of these people on social media, like, if you have the credentials, like if you're an Andrew Huberman, a Jeff Nippert, a Lane Norton, and I'm going to talk about them in a second, but if you're one of those people who are actual experts, then I think it's okay to do that. But if you're not an expert, maybe just go away. Because there's all kinds of people that will comment stuff on my stuff. And if you have the credentials, if you have that credibility, I will listen to what you're saying. But if you don't be surprised when I'm just like, yeah, no, that's actually not true. Because it's like, you don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're talking about. So how are you going to critique me? And it's always somebody who doesn't have any footage of them training. They don't have any credentials. They don't even have, like, their account is private half the time. So it's like, you just like to hear yourself talk. But yeah, speaking of Jeff Nippert and Layne Norton, they did a video, an overrated or underrated video, which I did a couple weeks ago, by the way. And it got 41 views. So I'm pretty sure they copied my idea because it went viral. I can't even say this with a straight face. No, but Jeff Nippert and Layne Norton did a video, which I actually really like that combination because they're both in the science-based community. They're both natural bodybuilders. So I think it's really cool that they're collaborating on stuff. But they said something that struck a chord with me, okay? And I have to respond because it's something that I talk about a lot, and I know that a lot of people that watch my content also watch Jeff Nippert and stuff like that. So I just felt like, I don't know, I just wanted to say something about it. So I actually agreed with, I would say, everything except that in their video. A lot of the other stuff, they were 100% right. And for bodybuilders, what they're saying is probably accurate. But for most people, it's like, okay, context. Context is important. So they were doing the underrated and overrated thing, and they said that ice baths are overrated. And I did a whole video on are ice baths overrated. I did a whole video on it, and you can go watch it if you want to see my video. I'm not going to go in all the details and stuff like that. I'm just going to give my opinion on what they said. But they said it was overrated. They said because it can blunt hypertrophy and all that stuff. And then and Layne Norton said the same thing that he said in his other video. So he did another video on it, and he did the same thing where he said, I think that people do ice baths because they want to look cool. Because whenever everybody was doing fasted cardio 10 years ago, they had their hoodie on and they want to look cool. So I think everybody does ice baths because they want to look cool. They want to look like a badass. And it's like, sing a new song, will ya? He said the same exact thing in both videos. So I thought that was funny. But and if you haven't watched his video on ice bath, it is actually a good video. His video on ice bath, I would say, is pretty accurate, other than the fact that not everybody's a freaking bodybuilder. And that's the point I'm getting to, is for them, yes, an ice bath might be overrated because for them, muscular hypertrophy is their number one priority, especially if you're a bodybuilder. That is going to be your number one priority. So doing ice bath, the benefits might not outweigh the cons, but for 90% of people, maybe even 99%, I don't know. Most statistics are made up on the spot. You guys know that, right? But for 90% of people, it doesn't matter. They don't care about hypertrophy more than they care about the mental benefits or even just the recovery benefits, the dopamine, all the benefits of ice bath that I went over in my video if you guys want to watch it. I'm not going to do a whole ice bath video again because I spent so much time doing that one. But I think it's important to context. Like I said, are you talking about it's overrated for bodybuilders and for athletes? Or are you talking about it's overrated in general? Because in general, I don't think it's overrated. I think that a lot of people still that haven't tried it could benefit from doing it. And the problem that I have with this is that so many people are saying it's overrated, but they're talking to a different group of people. They're talking to bodybuilders. They're talking about a different group of people than 90% of the population, who most people are looking for solutions for things like anxiety, depression, ADHD. Not like it's a cure, but it will help you a little bit with dealing with those ailments. So I think it's important to know context, and I think it's important to still just try things for yourself. Like, just because some guy on YouTube says not to do something, that doesn't mean that you can't do it. Because how many times have we seen people say stuff like that on YouTube. And even people that are really, really well respected, have a lot of credentials, have a lot of knowledge, sometimes even they get it wrong. So, and not that they're necessarily wrong, I just think the delivery is what I don't love. Because you're kind of ignoring most of the population that doesn't really care about hypertrophy. They're looking for solutions for other things. So yeah, for bodybuilding, maybe it is overrated. But for most people, I think can be a really helpful tool to help your recovery. But not only that, but just the mental benefits, which is what I've kind of stressed and what has really helped me. I mean, it's changed my perspective on life, on a lot of things. So I think that, you know, when you're deciding if you want to do something, just look at what your goals are and look at what you're trying to do. And if it will help you reach your goals, then I'd say it's worth a shot. So yeah, I don't know. I just had to say something about that because I thought it was funny. But I love Lane Norton. I love Jeff Nippard. I think they're some of the best. Jeff Nippard's probably my favorite fitness channel that I've ever come across, just because of the way he presents information. And he doesn't do, you know, the drama kind of stuff where it's like you're trying to take down other people in fitness and you're trying to get involved in all this high school drama that seems to be going on. Like, let's talk about that for a second, because what the heck is going on in bodybuilding? Like, there is so much drama. It's like, what are we, in middle school? I can't believe these guys, they act like little middle school, high school girls talking about all this drama. And we just saw this past, I think it was Friday, Bodybuilding and BS, the channel got taken down. That channel got taken down. And that's one of the channels that was kind of in the whole like drama thing with like trying to take people down and trying to, you know, basically talking trash on people all the time is what he did. So Nick Trigili was the guy that did the Bodybuilding and BS channel. If you don't know who that is, and I actually watched his channel. I was subscribed to his channel and I really liked a lot of his videos, but when he got taken down, I was kind of like, I wasn't really surprised necessarily, just because I know how YouTube works and I know that he made a lot of people mad. He talked trash about a lot of people and tried to ruin people's careers. So I get it. I understand why that happened, but then I kind of wanted to look into it more because I'm like, okay, it can't just be because he was talking trash. Like, you shouldn't be able to take down a channel just because you didn't like what somebody said about you. Like, that's just dumb. But then I kind of looked into it more, and John Bravo did a video on this, and if you haven't checked out his channel, he covers a lot of this stuff, but he was talking about it, and I like what he said, and it really made me think, because he was talking about how basically like YouTube is a private company, and all these they're all private companies, like Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, all these companies. So it kind of brings up the question of like, what is free speech? And that's what he was saying. Like, free speech is you go outside and you can yell, you know, whatever you want about whoever you want, and it's fine. But when it comes to doing it on private platforms like YouTube and Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, you know, you don't necessarily have that, especially if you are monetizing it. So I think he brought up an interesting point with that. But it also should be a huge wake-up call to creators, because if you look at the guidelines, and John talked about this in his video, where if you look at the guidelines, if you've ever been banned by YouTube or if you ever had a channel taken down, technically, if you create a new channel or you have anybody on your channel that has been banned, technically that is against YouTube guidelines. So I don't know. It's interesting. It's definitely something I didn't think about. But it's a wake up call, and I think it's a wake up call for a lot of these guys, like a Greg Doucette, for example, that basically half their channel is just talking trash about other people in bodybuilding. And like, I'll give Greg some credit. Like, I do like some of his videos. I think that he's entertaining. I don't know. I don't necessarily like him, but it's entertaining. I'll give him that. So I don't know. The whole thing though, with all this drama, is just, gosh, it's hilarious. But I think it's a wake up call that a lot of these creators and influencers, whatever you want to call them, they might want to think about the direction that they're going with their channel. Because here's why they do it. It gets views. It gets views. And when you are depending on YouTube for an income, then views are very important. And if you don't get them, then you don't make money. So you have to do what you have to do to get the views. So I understand that. But it gets to the point where it's like, oh my gosh, it's just straight up clickbait half the time. And so that part of it, I don't really like. So I think it's a wake up call. I think a lot of creators should do what they do best and get creative and think of better ways to market your channel than trash talking people. And I don't know. It's just, and like, it's one thing to disagree with people, but if all you do is, your whole goal is to try to take people down or deplatform people or basically try to ruin somebody's career or expose somebody, if that's your whole goal of your entire channel, then it's like, I don't know, it's kind of sad, really. So I don't necessarily agree with it. I don't really like it, but it is what it is. That's how YouTube is now. That's how the algorithm works. The algorithm likes drama. So what are you going to do? But I do think that people should try to start getting more creative with their content and think of better, maybe ways that will bring more value to your audience than just trash talking. But I don't know. It's a shame. It's a shame. And part of it is, you blame the creator, but also you got to blame YouTube a little bit too, because they're the ones that create the algorithm. So their algorithm is pushing out all this stuff. So it's like, okay, well, if you don't want that, then maybe your algorithm shouldn't be pushing it out. I don't know. That's kind of my thought on it. It's like, I kind of see both sides of the equation. It sucks though. It really sucks when you see somebody get taken down and then it's like, that's their income, and not that that's his only source of income, obviously, but it's a good chunk of it. And so it sucks because, if you've ever created a podcast, created a YouTube channel, you know how much work and energy and effort goes into that. So for that all to be for nothing is just like, yeah, wow, that sucks. But I don't know. It's interesting. It's scary because it's like, you really got to be careful. You got to pay attention when you're doing YouTube and you're doing podcasts, especially if you want to eventually monetize it. You got to be really careful, and it should be a wake up call to a lot of people to go actually read the community guidelines. Read them. I am probably going to go and read every word of the community guidelines after that, because the last thing I want is to work my butt off on my channel and it get taken down. Obviously, I'm not monetized yet, but what if I do get monetized, and then I got to worry about that too. So not only do you have to worry about getting taken down, you also have to worry about getting demonetized, or both. So it's crazy. It's a crazy world we live in, but sometimes things just happen. You got to roll with the punches. So we'll see. I'll be curious to see if YouTube actually will allow him to have a channel again, or if they bring back his channel, or if he's got to start all over and do something else. If he has to go to Rumble, or I don't know. We'll see what happens. But that's all I got for you guys today. So thank you for listening, for joining me. I don't know why, but my window, my sunlight is like really bothering me because it's ruining my lighting here. My lighting situation. I just had my lighting figured out with the last episode. I didn't change anything, but for some reason today, I guess the sun is shining right on my face. I don't know, but whatever. I'll fix it next time. Sorry. I'm still learning. I'm still trying, but I'm getting there. Okay. I am working on it. I can't be good at everything, guys. So technology, it's not my strong suit, but I'm trying. Okay. I'm trying. So if you guys have any suggestions for my lighting, help me. I don't know what I'm doing. But Anyways, thank you guys so much for listening today, watching. If you're on YouTube, I really do appreciate it. I appreciate all the nice comments I've gotten lately. Last podcast I did, I got a lot of great comments and just really like thoughtful comments, really nice things, and I do really appreciate that. So I want you guys to know, thank you for supporting me. I obviously am trying to grow my channel and trying to get better and better and improve. And I don't need to wake up tomorrow with 10,000 subscribers. I'm happy with the way things are going, and I'm happy with kind of growing slowly. I think it's good because I'm getting better. And by the time that I do kind of have a bigger audience, I think that will be the time where my quality has improved quite a bit. So I think it's okay. But I do appreciate you guys helping me out and sharing my stuff and sending me those comments and messages. It means the world to me, honestly. So thank you so much. And I will see you guys next week. Bye.